Okay, let's dive right into this explainer. If you're an off-grid DIYer, a hobbyist, or just someone dropping serious cash on backup energy storage, you already know how incredibly expensive lithium battery packs can be. You pour your hard-earned money into these systems, and honestly, you expect them to last for thousands of cycles. But today we're going to expose a predatory scam that is hiding right inside your premium off-grid battery packs. We're talking about a specific piece of hardware designed to make you feel totally safe while it silently destroys your investment.
To really wrap our heads around this scam, we first have to understand the golden rule of battery building. In any series battery pack, every single lithium cell shares the exact same current. They charge together and they discharge together, meaning the absolute weakest cell in your entire pack dictates the limit for everything else. When that weak cell hits full, charging stops. When it hits empty, the whole system shuts down. And you know what? This isn't a design flaw. It is simply physics being honest with you. The system is just protecting itself. But the real trouble starts when manufacturers decide that this kind of radical honesty is, well, bad for business.
Because manufacturers know that you, the buyer, absolutely hate seeing a pack shut down early. So what do? They introduce a middleman, the active balancer. It gets marketed to us as this premium upgrade. But let's put on our detective hats for a second and ask a truly terrifying question. What if the tool you were sold to keep your battery healthy is actually what's killing it? What if that premium active balancer you paid extra for is the exact reason you'll end up throwing your entire system in the trash?
Let's explore exactly how that happens in Section 1, the perfect voltage facade. You see, active balancers create this absolute illusion of perfection just to blindfold you. Let's take 3.3 volts as an example. If you put a voltage meter to your LifePo 4 pack and see 3.3 volts across all your cells, you're going to feel great, right? But here is the terrifying truth about that. A dying, highly degraded cell with only, say, 30% of its usable capacity left, and a brand new healthy cell at 100% capacity. They can both show a perfect 3.3 volts if an active balancer is running. The balancer constantly shuffles energy around to force those numbers to match, which completely masks the fact that one of those cells is literally on its deathbed. And this brilliantly illustrates that voltage is not the same as capacity. Think of it like a set of water buckets. The active balancer acts like an automatic water pump, and it's constantly moving water from a large bucket into a small leaking bucket, just to make sure the surface of the water looks perfectly level. But that small bucket still holds practically no water. When you actually put a heavy load on your system, that small bucket empties in a flash. The balancer isn't fixing anything, it's just maintaining a cosmetic surface lie. Behind that perfect, comforting voltage reading, the active balancer is hiding a multitude of sins from you. It's hiding your pack's true capacity floor, which means you have far less usable energy than you actually think. It hides cell degradation. I mean, those weak cells have higher internal resistance and they heat up dangerously under load, but you can't see it. And it hides the capacity divergence rate over time. As your cells age at totally different speeds, the balancer just works harder and harder in the dark, keeping you blissfully unaware until it is entirely too late. Which brings us to Section 2, how balancers kill batteries. Let's head over to the crime scene and look at how this facade directly leads to the premature death of your expensive components. When shopping, DIYers generally face two major traps. Trap number one is the cheap pack, built with scrap cells. In Filipino culture, there's actually a great term for this, ninga skogon. It's like dry grass that catches fire spectacularly, but burns out into coal ash almost instantly. The balancer makes the pack turn on, but it dies the second it's under real load. But Trap 2. Trap 2 is much darker. That's the premium pack. It uses initially good cells, but the active balancer acts as planned obsolescence. It literally murders the good cells. And honestly, the fact that we pay extra for this is the ultimate irony. We call this the Phoebus Cascade, named after the infamous 1920s cartel that engineered light bulbs to burn out early. Here's how it works. To maintain equal voltage, the active balancer constantly moves tiny amounts of energy back and forth between cells, even when the battery is completely disconnected and resting. It microcycles the cells. And each of those microcycles causes physical wear and tear on the lithium electrode structure. It is silently chewing through your battery's finite mechanical life while it's just sitting in a drawer. Eventually, one exhausted cell collapses, which forces the balancer to work even harder, cascading that stress until the entire sealed pack is totally destroyed. So why do this? Let's get into Section 3, the culture of concealments. To really understand why manufacturers would put a Band-Aid over a bullet hole and then sell it to you as a feature, we have to look past the engineering. The active balancer is essentially the hardware equivalent of a fascinating Filipino cultural concept called pakitong tao. Basically, it means putting up a highly presentable front to avoid shame. The manufacturer knows their battery cells aren't perfectly matched, but instead of fixing the core issue, they install a circuit that creates a shiny facade to hide a shameful failing core. It's all just to save face, close the deal, and transfer the ultimate problem right onto you. And let's be super clear here. This predatory cunning, or discarte, is not a new thing. It is a universal human shortcut. Back in 1720, investors were sold massive paper wealth for Mississippi territories that were actually just empty swamps. In the 19th century, shady jerry builders slapped beautiful smooth stucco over terrible foundations just to sell houses before they collapsed. In the Victorian era, bakers literally added white chalk to mask the color of spoiled, rotten flour. The active balancer, it is literally just modern digital chalk. It's a specialized tool used purely to maintain a surface lie. Okay, moving right along to Section 4, Active versus Passive Management. So how do we escape this trap and actually build systems based on katapatan, or radical honesty? Well, let's compare the two main options. On one side, we have the active balancer. It's an energy shuttle that actively conceals flaws. It acts on resting cells through that destructive microcycling we talked about, and it completely hides weakness until the entire pack just fails. Passive management, on the other hand, acts as a simple resistor shunt. It only works at the very top of the charge cycle to bleed off a tiny bit of excess energy. It takes absolutely zero action when the battery is resting, and most importantly, it exposes weakness immediately. What you really need to take away from this is that a passive BMS absolutely refuses to play the Puggy-Tong Tao game. It refuses to hide the problem from you. Because it doesn't shuffle energy around, when a weak cell empties out, the passive BMS simply shuts the system down. Boom. It is radically honest. The weakness is instantly visible to you, and you know exactly which cell is underperforming the very second it happens. Let's wrap things up with Section 5, the honest off-grid solution. To make sure your off-grid setup lasts for decades, we have to fundamentally change how we view our battery banks. We really need to embrace what's known as the jeepney principle. In the Philippines, the iconic jeepney is kept on the road for generations because its engine is completely accessible. Every single part can be scavenged, fabricated, or replaced by a roadside mechanic. We need to build our battery packs the exact same way. Instead of buying a sealed black box appliance that you just throw away when one part breaks, you build a modular machine where every single cell is individually visible, testable, and replaceable by you. By adopting this kind of radical transparency, the active balancer actually becomes completely irrelevant. Think about it. You don't need a circuit to hide a weak cell if you can just open the box and see it for yourself. With a modular passive system, there's no Phoebus cascade wearing out your good cells. When one cell eventually degrades, the system halts. You easily identify that one failing cell, unbolt it, and drop a $100 replacement right in its place. The rest of your healthy cells are left entirely undisturbed to continue their full-rated life, which saves you from a mandatory multi-thousand-dollar repurchase. It's a total game changer. So the next time you're sourcing parts for your off-grid energy setup, I want you to ask yourself a really fundamental question. Will you buy a sealed throwaway appliance, or will you build a maintainable machine? Do you want an expensive illusion that secretly sabotages itself just to look good on a voltage meter? Or do you want an honest system designed with radical transparency, designed to be repaired, and most importantly, designed to last? The choice is entirely yours.